Welcome back. All right, so news of the day video for all you fine people on the internet on this Friday, May the 26th. No hockey today. We have hockey tomorrow, though, so I had been thinking about playing some street hockey in Coquitlam, but with a game at 5 o'clock, that's right around the time I like to be playing. So, anyways, that being said, let's go over the news for today, which starts with the Carolina Hurricanes. And of course, it's locker cleanout, so you're going to get a lot of interviews. Aho saying that he's optimistic for next year, in that most of the pieces of this team are going to be coming back anyways, and it's just a matter of, if they keep going at it, eventually they should break through. There's some truth to that, of course. There are teams that have had multiple opportunities, and then they get that breakthrough. Also, Svechnikov saying that watching his teammates play for the last couple of months has been the most difficult thing in his career, but also saying that he should be back on skates by July and that he should be fine by training camp. So there's a good news, bad news situation there if you're a Canes fan, right? Bad news being it's unfortunate he didn't play in the playoffs. Jordan Staal also saying he wants to finish his career with the Carolina Hurricanes. I don't see any reason why that can't happen. He's even open to signing a multi-year contract or just signing for a single year, doing the same as Pavelski's doing in Dallas, just sign one-year deals. Bergeron and Krejci did it in Boston this past year. So we'll see what they work out. Jacob Slavin, it was, kind of scary seeing him go down the tunnel, but he's saying he's okay. He's just got a bit of a headache. So if he was concussed on that play, and probably was, it doesn't sound like it was a major one. And so Slavin's looking forward to coming back as well and getting to play with Brent Burns again. He has had his defensive partner change 3 seasons in a row. Next year it should stay the same. He should still be with Burns. He's happy about that. And Paul Stastny is going to take some time to decide whether or not his career will continue. Not as much about whether or not he'll come back to Carolina, just deciding whether or not this might be the end of the road for him, if this is the time to hang up his skates. So we'll see what happens. So everything Toronto right now is just, isn't it? It's that, right? So if you follow reporters online, the speculation is anybody who's been a general manager over the last 20 years might be in the running for the general manager position in Toronto. I think it's just as soon as Shanahan said he wanted some bite, he wanted somebody with experience, we can just truck out every name possible. But as soon as I saw Chiarelli's name this morning, I went, stop. Peter Chiarelli is not going to be a GM again. Now, I will say this. Chiarelli can be useful in an organization in a support role. He can even be a good assistant GM. Just when he's in charge, things tend to go the other way. And again, I think sometimes his failures are a little bit overblown. But yeah, I can't see it being Chiarelli. I swear sometimes that reporters are just trolling people online with some of the names they throw out there. I just can't see it. But if that did happen, right? I mean, Toronto fans would be groaning, and there'd be 31 other fan bases that would just be shocked. I'm including Seattle because by now they've been in the league for a couple of years. Their fans probably know, oh yeah, Chiarelli, we've heard about him. Anyways, on the good side for Toronto, Luke Schenn wants to stick around. He was also asked whether or not he'd be okay with going back to Vancouver by Vancouver media a couple days ago. But the reality is that I think Luke Schenn fit in pretty well for Toronto. He's not going to cost them a ton of money. They do have cap concerns going forward. Once they get a new GM in place, I would think that Schenn probably finds a way to stick around in Toronto and makes it stick this time. Maybe they give him a 2-year deal, right? So Vancouver has made a bit of a change to their arena, and I wanted to talk about it because it's interesting. So Canuck Clay, you guys may all know Canuck Clay Emu. He's reported that there's a new VIP section now in Rogers, which I think is a good idea. It's 60 seats in total. It's just a few rows. It feels like it's just they're trying it out as a pilot project. So the VIP section will also have access to a restaurant downstairs and the players' tunnel. And all I thought was, so Vegas then. So when we were in Vegas and we saw a couple of games, we had prime seats that we were in that were gifted to us by a season ticket holder. And we had access to food in between periods. We were able to see the players. It was like, this is great. This is an awesome experience. Like, you could just sit and talk, and you have a lounge and this whole thing. And so if Vancouver's looking to bring something like that in, I think that's a good thing. And I saw people immediately talking about, well, this is going to jack up ticket prices. Well, yeah, you're going to have to pay a premium for the VIP experience, but it is kind of fun. It is kind of fun. And we We even were kind of late getting back to our seats for, I think it was the third period, because the food was great. It was like, oh crap, they're getting back out on the ice. We better finish up here. But yeah, I think something like that can really add to the experience. It is definitely something that I think Vegas has kind of changed things around the NHL a little bit, in how things are presented, and I think that's for the best. And whether Vancouver said, you know what, let's try this, or if it was, hey, did you hear that this team does this and we're going to try it too? Whatever it is, I think it could work. I think it's a good idea. And again, it's only 60 seats in a building that seats what, 18,000. So yeah, it's not a major number right now, and I would think those seats are going to sell out really quickly as well. So we'll see how it goes. Vancouver trying to find a little bit of extra revenue, and I think that that's a good idea. Now, Calgary, things are really ramping up right now because the provincial election is on Monday. Now, it's not as dire as the Arizona situation. It's not like that. But there are some who are viewing this vote between the UCP, who currently are in control in Alberta, and the NDP, the only party who could threaten that. I don't think the UCP is losing the election, to be honest. I think it's going to go to the NDP. All right, I don't think the NDP is going to win. I think UCP is going to hold on to power there. But of course, they signed the deal to give provincial money to the new building in Calgary. So there is the potential that if the UCP loses and if the NDP takes over, that the NDP could decide not to fund the arena. That the provincial funding, just maybe they'll say the money's just not there, and they could end up having valid reasons for that. Now, of course, even if the UCP wins, then you have to ratify it and basically say, okay, we're voting in favor of spending that money on the building. But if UCP wins, I can't see them going against their own leader and an agreement that she signed to get that new arena in Calgary. So again, it's not anywhere near as live or die as anything in Arizona, but it's worthy of note. So that's on Monday, and we'll see how that turns out. Coming out of last night's game, Pete DeBoer saying what has to be said as a coach, that Ottinger's starting to heat up. Now, Otter had a much better game. Early goal by Vegas made me a little bit nervous as a Dallas fan, but he did have a much better game. The thing with Ottinger's been, throughout these playoffs, he can have games like this. It's a matter of sustaining it. If he can go into Vegas and have a really good game, the one thing I will say is, I think just, based on the goaltenders, I would say that Ottinger's a better goaltender than Hill. But in this series, Hill has been a wall, and Ottinger's had his struggles. If that switch happens, so if Hill starts to struggle and Ottinger becomes that wall, you just never know. I've already seen people irritated that Dallas fans think they can go back and win in 7. Let them have their fun. I don't think they win it in 7. I don't think that happens. But I do think that they do have the better goaltender, just not necessarily the one that's playing better right now. And that's the thing in the playoffs. Who's hot right now? Adin Hill. And so that's a big part of the reason why Vegas is up 3-1 in the series. So we'll see if that continues. But again, Pete DeBoer saying what needs to be said as a coach. You got to make sure you go out, you support your goaltender. And yeah, we'll see whether or not Dallas can get another win tomorrow. So the NHLPA is investigating Kyle Dubas and the fact that he is represented by an agent who works for an agency, the same agency that Auston Matthews has an agent through. It is not the same agent. I think Kyle Dubas found a bit of a loophole here. So it's being seen as potential conflict of interest the NHLPA is investigating. But Dubas's agent is not NHLPA certified, doesn't generally work with hockey people, apparently. Apparently, he's basically primarily a golf agent. So the argument on Dubas's side is going to be, my agent isn't under the same umbrella as the NHLPA's agreement on who can be represented by what agency, because my agent doesn't generally work with the National Hockey League. But the idea is that you can't have somebody who's working for the players and for general managers to try to get there's that conflict of interest there, right? Because your general manager and your player shouldn't be represented by the same agency, and so that's what they're looking at. But again, I think it's a loophole, and I think it's going to come down to who the actual agent is for Kyle Dubas, and I don't know that this goes anywhere. We'll see what happens, and then what what do they do with Kyle Dubas? Like, does Dubas then have to find a different person to be his agent, or a different agency, or what happens? That'll be interesting because apparently there were some agents that brought this up and reported it and found it alarming, and then the NHLPA opened the investigation. So we'll see. And other agents from other agencies are saying this is a clear violation of the rules. So we'll see. But it does open my eyes to one thing. I had no idea that was the thing. I had no idea. It makes some sense. But I mean, because if you have an agency that's representing both, then they're getting bonuses from both, right? But anyway, any rate, we'll see what happens. So the Columbus coaching search continues. They've interviewed Andrew Burnett for that coaching position. I didn't like how Burnett got fired by Florida. I think he should have another chance in the NHL. I think 2 chances as a coach makes some sense. This is an NHL where we see guys on 4th, 5th, 6th chances. But yeah, Burnett, I thought, did a decent job in Florida. I obviously right now in Florida, nobody's regretting not having Burnett behind the bench, but he's a good coach, and so we'll see whether or not he gets that opportunity. There's a lot of speculation too with the Quebec Ramparts in the Memorial Cup about, does Patrick Roy want to coach in the NHL, and if he does, where does he want to go? I think a more mature Patrick Roy this time around would be an excellent coach in the NHL. I think it's just a matter of whether or not he wants to do it. And would he have certain locations he'd like to coach and other ones he's not as interested in? And so we'll see. But it is that time of year, and there are a number of coaching vacancies in the National Hockey League. Now, the World Championships yesterday set up the gold and bronze medal, or at the very least the semifinals. We'll find out who's going to be playing for the gold and the bronze coming out of these 2 games. But Canada beat Finland 4-1. Montembeault saved 27 out of 28, so good showing by Sam Montembeault. Latvia beat Sweden 3-1. Silovs made 40 saves on 41 shots. So huge upset there for Latvia. They're in a good position now to potentially get a medal. However, tomorrow they're against Canada. I'm not getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to watch that one. I do apologize to people. That's when it starts, is 4:20, I think, my time. Yep, jokes. And then Germany against USA starts at, I think it's 10:20 a.m. my time. I may check that one out a little bit. And see how that one goes. But in all likelihood, it'll probably be Canada and the U.S. for the gold medal. But you can't overlook either Latvia or Germany because they've already scored upsets to get here. And honestly, just for the chaos of it, Latvia versus Germany for the gold medal, sign me up. I think that'd be great. And we'll see how it goes. But for Germany, they knocked off the Swiss. So the Swiss had a great round robin. And that's part of the reason why I don't pay much attention until we get to the medal round. Because you can have a team have a great round robin and then just lose in the quarterfinals and it's done. A team can have a miserable overall tournament and then start winning in the medal round, like Canada, who beats Finland after having a very mediocre round robin. So we'll see how things turn out. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.